Hello everyone, today we are going to read about the dural venous sinuses. Now, these dural venous sinuses are endothelium-lined channels which drain the deoxygenated blood and cerebrospinal fluid into the internal jugular vein. Now, if you see, this is the interior of the skull, right? Obviously, there is no soft tissue because this is just the bony skull. This is known as the jugular foramen. Okay, so the internal jugular vein passes through this jugular foramen. Now let's understand how these dural venous sinuses are located in the skull and how they drain the deoxygenated blood and CSF. Now if you see, they are all blue in color. Why? Because they are carrying the deoxygenated blood, right? So this is known as the superior sagittal sinus. Why superior sagittal sinus? Because this is located just along the sagittal suture, right? And why superior? Because it is superiorly located. Now this superior sagittal sinus drains into the transverse sinus. So these are the transverse sinuses. Now if I open this, if you see that these are the transverse sinuses, they also have connection with straight in the air. So if I put this pen like this, so in the air there is the straight sinus. Now the straight sinus also drains into this transverse sinus. This transverse sinus finally continues as the sigmoid sinus. Sigmoid is the lazy S shape. So this sigmoid sinus eventually drains into the internal jugular vein through this jugular foramen, as I told you. Now this bone, if you see on both sides, this is the petrous part of the temporal bone. Now the petrous part of the temporal bone, on the superior part of the petrous part of the temporal bone, this is known as the superior petrosal sinus. This superior petrosal sinus also drains into the sigmoid sinus, which eventually drains as internal jugular vein. Now this transverse sinus also connects with the occipital sinus. So these are the structures which are seen in the skull in this model which I am showing, which are colored. Here we have the sella turcica, and along both sides we have the cavernous sinus, which is another dural venous sinuses. So this is all about the dural venous sinuses of the skull, where they are located, how they drain the blood, how the venous system is there. On the superior sagittal sinus, there are some arachnoid granulations which clearly show that the CSF is finally drained into them, and finally they drain everything through the internal jugular vein. Thank you so much.